Welcome to the Neos 101 Academy, and we're ready to share with you some different facets about getting started with Neos. Eric, why don't you start us off?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eric Hill. I'm here to help you with the Neos 101 class. We're going to cover the next slide. This is what the agenda is going to be. And again, everybody that signed up for this should get a copy of this.
And so, just to some more clarity, Eric is going to be running the agenda today, and Dawn Rowan and myself are going to be adding some additional information regarding troubleshooting methods and then texting.
And everybody down at the bottom, do we still have the Q&A at the bottom or no?
We sure do.
Okay, by all means, do not sit here and let us three just chat and talk in a lecture style. I encourage everyone to get involved and get as active as you can with all of these items. Please get in there, ask questions. If there's something you want to know, ask it. If it's something we're going to get to, we'll say we're going to get to that in just a little bit. If we're not going to get to it, I will try my best to answer it or give you an answer or a way that we can get that resolved for you. All right, with that being said, no time like the present. Let's get going. So again, once you first go to the Neos website, it will be cloud or neos.cloud.com. You're going to get your company ID, your username, and your password. From there, you can just choose your company name, your username and password. And again, I have that popped up is 2FA, and it's telling me, hey, you've got to have a code to get into the system for us to remember these passwords for you. You can also use MSO or Microsoft Single Sign-On if that's what you wanted to do. If you know the company ID, your username and password, you can use your email address with that Microsoft Single Sign-On. I want to log in because it knows that I'm ehill at assemblysoftware.com. So I'm telling it the company ID that I want to sign in with, and you can turn it on there. We also have 2FA built in on the firm level and also on the user level. And the big thing that comes out of that is it allows you to set those parameters. If they're not using MSO or one of the other Microsoft authenticators, you can then go through and see or get all of that 2FA done on the whole firm or just on that individual user. All right. From that too, if for any reason you forget your password, by all means, click it. You're going to enter your username, your company ID, and it's going to ask you to reset your password. Once you've reset that password, you will have to log in again, and it'll take you right back to this page. Again, that's my Windows Security or Microsoft Authenticator I've got set in. Sign in, and we can go from there. To turn on 2FA, you can go to Settings, come down to Staff Profiles. You want to find your profile. And right there, I can enable two-factor authentication. If you're enabling two-factor authentication, you definitely want to make sure that your email address and a mobile number is entered. Because when you go to do the 2FA, it'll ask you which device or which way do you want that code to get in. Those codes are available for 1 hour, and you can also choose not to ask you for 30 days. Very cool. And again, it's always going to pull that email address here and then your mobile number. Dawn, do you want to cover now?
Sure. Give me just a second here. I'm going to take over sharing my screen here.
I gave it up to you.
Yep, it's loading.
That's
Come on, are we going to go? All right, so you all get to see my obnoxiously large pink icon, cursor icon that I have here. So I just wanted to go over a couple of quick troubleshooting steps that you can try on your own. So if you're working on a case and you notice that a change that's made in one of the drop downs isn't populating, like if you come in here and you've had something added to the class codes and it's not there, or if you're on the notes tab and you notice notes are missing, or documents tabs, or if you're messing in the calendar, those are the ones in particular that are easy to do. We'll start with the notes tab since I'm here. So if you enter a note and you notice that it's not appearing, one of the first things that you should always check for is to see if you have any filters. As you can see, I have filters set in all the different areas right here just to show you guys. If you click into the search bar here and just hit your backspace, that will eliminate that. You can see I have a case intake one here. We can close out of that. And then you see this little caret drop-down menu here. You see how it's blue? If it's blue, it indicates that there is a filter present. So if you click on it and just click the reset and then apply, you'll notice it turns black. And then all of my notes that I had in here came back. The same is going to be true if you go into the case documents tab. If you have a filter set, it will limit the amount of documents that will appear. Now, if that doesn't work, if you hit F5 on your keyboard, as you can see, it's going to cause Neos to refresh. It'll take you right back where you were. Another thing that you may encounter if you go to open a document or if you go into the case calendar and try to add an event, it may tell you that you don't have permission. If you encounter that, the first thing that you should check is you should go down here to your little staff icon. If it's not there for you, you can reach out to your admin and they can turn that on for you. It'll bring you to your staff profile and check to make sure your Office 365 is connected. As you can see, I don't have two-factor authentication turned on because reasons. If it does stay connected, you can always try disconnecting and reconnecting it. If you make an update to your Microsoft account, whether it's a change in your password or your IT enables two-factor authentication for your Office 365 account, it will break this connection. So that's another thing that you can check. Now, if that doesn't work, it could potentially be your browser cache or your cookies. One way to see if that's what it is, you can come up here to the top and click on your three dots and go to an incognito window and sign in there. If it works when you sign in here, you'll have to go back, navigate back to Neos, obviously. Once you're in here, if it works, that means that it's something in your browser cache and you will need to clear it. The easiest way to do that is by going here and clicking on these little lines that are to the left of the browser, go to cookies and site data, manage on device site data, click that, and then just clear it out and click done. You will have to reload and it will sign you out. So once it's done, you would just sign back in. And of course, it's going to be silly. No, I don't want to update my password. And then whatever was appeared in the incognito window should come back. Are there any questions about this that I can answer?
I think we're good on our side.
All right. So I am going to give the share back over to you, Eric.
No. Easy peasy. Let's keep going. So one of the things that once you first do get logged in, we want to start searching and looking for not only cases, but I may know and I have had some firms over the years that say, you know what, we don't go by John Smith. We go by that file number, or that's how we identify who this is. And up here in the search bar, you get that option. When it says all right there in that drop-down menu, click it and you can choose by name, social, case number, or if you don't know the name, but you know somebody's date of birth or date of incident, any of those things you can go through and run those. If you're looking to run a marketing campaign in a zip code and you want to go to 32063 and have all of your clients or anybody that you know in that zip code, then you can run that and it'll bring those cases up for you. I'm going to leave it at all, and then I can actually start typing. Now it will, as if you notice, as I hit that drop down, it brought up the last 5 items that I had opened. It could be an intake, it could be a case, an open case, a provider, whatever I have opened or messed with, it's going to show me those items right there. From there, I can type in, I want to see Devin Hill, and it shows me that Devin has 4 cases and 3 intakes. If I click on the briefcase, it'll show me all 4 of those cases. If I click on the little computer screen, it's going to give me those 3 intakes. If I'm not using a name and I want to look up a case, I can do 200362. And it says, oh, hey, that case is for Devin. I can double click on it and it takes me right into that case. All right. And again, that's in the search bar here. So when we look at the case, once it comes up, if you notice, all of the tabs fall into that gray bar. And the black bar is where we can search globally. So we want to look at all of our cases. I can go to browse cases. And like Dawn said earlier, I can filter those down and say, hey, I'm looking for dormant cases that are beneficiaries. And you can do those items. And that's on the big filter. Let's say we're not getting that drilled down. We just want to see all of our family law cases. I can click on family law and it just brought those cases up for me. So if I know our firm handles 3 or 4 different types of cases, I can filter it down to just see what I am working on or what I'm using. Good. Same with documents. The next thing that comes out of this is browsing documents. One of the big things that, and working at a firm for 3.5 years like I did before I came to work for Assembly back in 2006, was our senior partner would come into my office and say, hey, Eric, I was working on this case 7 years ago. I can't remember the name of the case. I can't remember the name of the document. But in that document, I said X. Go find that document. I need it because I've got another case just like it now. And I'm just thought process. And I said, where do I even begin? Neos has simplified that to make it easier. So when you go in, you can say, I'm always use John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt is what he said. So I'll type in Jacob. Search. At that point, it'll search every document that has the word Jacob in it or in the name of it. So I can then go through and find those documents. So what would have taken me hours, days, weeks, now took me 3 to 5 minutes. Now I've got just this small list rather than every document that's in the system. Our address book just allows us to see all of the contacts. And again, we can search here, just like we searched up top. I can search here for all or just our providers. And again, we get different items when they're a provider. Then you get all of their basic information, their provider associations, any notes about that provider, any documents we've associated with that provider, and those billing settings. If they're not a provider, Dawn, are you handling the Q&A?
Yes, Dawn and I are doing the Q&A. Thanks.
Sorry, I have myself muted there.
You're good. You notice I don't get those items because they're not a provider. Notes, documents. This is more for our clients or other parties or those people that we aren't using or using as a true provider. And if there's any of those questions you want me to answer, please, by all means, let me know and I'll answer them any way that I can.
We have some questions about documents right now.
Sure, let's go for it.
Okay, so we have one. Can you only search through documents that are only OCR'd?
So if you're going to use Neos in the premium or the middle tier, there's 3 tiers of Neos, Essentials, Premium, and then our AI. In the premium tier, it has OCR built in along with PDF editing and those items. So any document that hits that table of that case it automatically starts that OCR process if it's not OCR'd. If it is OCR, then it automatically just starts cataloging the words in that OCR document. Does that help?
We have not gotten a response back from it.
Okay. Then I'm going to keep on trucking. Open calendar. Open calendar just allows you to see your calendar and what you've got going on. And again, this is more of this is my Office or Outlook 365 calendar. It's not anything specialized just for A, B, or C. Can I add other people's calendars just like I would in Outlook? Of course you can. And you can start seeing those other items from those other people that you've turned on their staff. If you need to add somebody, you can always click the plus and add them also. But again, that calendar just like I had gone to Outlook, brought up my calendar. I can do it by the day, by the week, by the work week. Here's my day calendar for today and those items. Cool. I've got all those tabs open. Whew. Checklist. So again, when I first logged in, I saw my checklist and my Neos today showing me everything that was coming up to be due or was currently overdue. And again, I can scroll through those items and say, oh, Eric, you've got a lot of stuff you need to accomplish and take care of. Those are the checklists that I'm assigned to and I'm associated with. But let's say Eric's on a 2-week Caribbean cruise and Devin wants to look and see what Eric's got going. You can always go over here to the open checklist and say, I want to see by the staff, by date range, if it's opened or closed, any checklist codes, or any other filters I want to see. And this is everybody in the whole firm. So it's not just Eric's. Now, I say that, but can I filter it down to Eric? Of course I can.
So there aren't any questions in here about the checklist, but I've got one about the calendar.
Let's rock and roll.
All right. So the question is, on the calendar, can you create a template workflows to calendar DCOs quickly?
I don't know what DCOs is. Sorry. On the calendar, can you create a template workflow to calendar DCOs quickly? I'm assuming that DCOs would be case deadlines. I don't want to assume. If you're in the case, you can always go to the case tab and have those case dates or case deadlines set in. And again, you can specifically, as a firm, you guys can turn off or turn on these as you see fit and also change them as you see fit. I literally had a firm a couple of weeks ago come to me and say, hey, we don't like filed suit. I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? We want to flip it and say suit filed. And I'm like, that's it? And they're like, yeah, we literally changed it to suit filed. That's all they wanted. So you can do those here. If you're doing it on an individual level, a case level, you get the case calendar button. When I clicked on the calendar, this is my global calendar showing everything that's on Outlook right now. Good.
So we have one about checklists. I know you just went off of there. They want to know, is there a way to clear out all done and NA items to show the daily tasks that still need to be completed?
So again, I've done it to open. I can clear that status from open to show all. And then I can choose a date if that's what I wanted. If you notice, these blue items came up when I undid that because those items have been completed or done. When I check the status, I say open, apply, and those go away. And again, I can set that start date, end date, what I want to see and how I want to see it. I don't know if there's, I was going to say there may be some stuff on there, but I don't know. But yeah, there you go. If I uncheck that, I'll see if there's any. Nope, there's just all open. Cool. Anything else I can help you with, Dawn? Or any other questions?
Yeah, there's one that came up. How do I do a search for all cases for individual staff member?
Sure. So in that same browse cases in the top left, I can then come up and choose staff here. Choose who you want, and it set that staff in just showing you their cases. Now notice Eric's name's not here because Eric's not the primary staff. But Eric is on the staff page. And that is under the case. And then the assigned to attorney, legal assistant, case manager, records clerk, litigation paralegal. And again, in these fields, you can also have as many of these as you want turned off, turned on, or named what you like.
All right. I've got another one in here for you. Many of the default calendar dates show up. What is the way to modify or change those so they do not show up on our calendar?
One more time.
Many of the
default
default
dates.
Yep, many of the default calendar dates show up. What's the way to modify or change those so they do not show up on our calendar?
The only way they're not going to show up on your calendar is if you're invited to that event, you're going to get those reminders or that event on there. Am I saying that correctly? I'm hoping I'm understanding the question correctly.
It sounded correct to me.
Yeah. If you're getting that invite, it's just like an off, and I say it's just like an Outlook. Please understand that when we set that staff profile up and you log in as your staff code, it knows whose email address, calendar, all of those things to pull because it says Eric logged in. That's how you get it done. So if it's assigned to me, it's going to show. There's no way I can have it not show unless I take myself off of that invitation or off of that calendar entry. Very cool. Going on down the search bar, we talked about checklists, browse intakes. These are all of your intakes that are in the entire system. And again, I can set them by primary staff. If I'm looking for open, closed, whatever it may be. In progress, qualified, you can see the statuses and substatuses. If I'm looking for Mahomes, Pat Mahomes, he's got a fair amount of them. We're sports fans around here, so we try to do a lot of sports people. You'll see Chase Utley and a couple other guys in here too. Cool. Messages just allows you to do almost like an internal messaging. So I can add a new message. Who's getting it? If anybody needs to be CC'd, if there was a caller, so that needed to be associated to a case, their phone number. Once you've chosen that person, 200362. I know I'm answering the fields. And then I can say that Devin called, stopped by, returned your call, please call, wants to see you again. And then I can post and send, or I can send that. So if I send it, it's just going to Dawn. If I post and send, it's going to go to Devin's case and it's going to go to Dawn. Very cool. And then our reports and our reporting features. These are all the reports that Neos has to offer. One of the big things for me is there's so many reports here. There is. You can come up here and start searching and say, I want to see intake. And it's going to show you all of the intake reports that we've got. If you find reports that you like, go over to the right, hit it on your favorite, click on the star. So that next time you come in, you don't have to search again. You can just go to all favorites and it's going to show you those favorites. Okay. I can choose that upcoming statute of limitation dates, and it's going to kick that report out for me. Here's the biggest thing that I love about this. I can say subscribe and send that email or that report to me monthly on the 1st at 9 a.m. Execute. On the 1st of every month, it's going to send me this report as it sits. So every month, it's going to send you an updated report of all your upcoming statute of limitations dates. Again, when we get into reports and those things, if there's ever a report, and one of our sister products used to be that you would have one report that gave you 3 or 4 things you wanted, another report gave you 3 or 4 things you wanted, another report gave you 3 or 4 things you wanted, but not one report gave you all 7, 10, 15 items you wanted. You can always come up to the advanced search up top and custom build that report the way that you want to see it. And again, it's going by the fields that are in Neos. So it's not like we're throwing a crazy curveball at you and you've got to have a SQL degree to know how to build a report out. If we want cases, if we want contacts, it's going to reset. If we want value, they're all here. And then you can just start building those criteria out. What do you want to see in the value tab? Cool. Any other questions I can help with?
So there's one in here. It's not about the value tab or reports. Someone is looking to see if there is a way that they can combine duplicate providers. And the example is they have 20 providers listed as Blue Cross and they only need one.
Here's the one thing I would tell you before you do that. Make sure that they're all the exact same address, city, state, and zip. And you can do a bulk edit to contacts. The thing that I found that most firms say that, hey, we've got 20 of the same provider. Little did they know that that provider had 5 different offices. Now, granted, you don't need 4 contacts for each one of the offices, but you can get that one contact and cull it down to what you need in that vein. Dawn? Yes? No? Maybe? Keep me honest.
That sounds accurate to me.
Keep me honest here. Same thing, and I'm just going to segue real quick, just a little left turn. Same thing. Dawn's working at the firm. Dawn says, you know what? I've got a bigger, better job, and I'm moving on here. Eric's going to come in. We can go in and replace all the cases where Dawn's working and the checklist and all of those things that Dawn was working on to Eric. And you can do that in your bulk editing. And if you need help with that, please get with the trainer or see if you can get with your CSM or Any of the support team here ought to be able to help you with doing those things. Cool. The next is the communication center. Because there's so many ways to communicate in and throughout Neos, is not only you get phone calls, but you also get text messages. And those things that come out of that is how many times does someone call after hours? If we've got our Ring Central turned on and it picks up and says, hey, this phone call came in, but Eric wasn't at his desk. We don't know who that phone number is or anything else. It will be bolded, just like when you see the text messages that are here. Bolded means it hasn't been associated, and we actually need to get it associated or unassigned. We need to assign that to a contact. So the first assign says we need to assign it to a contact. The bold means no one's read that text message that came in that's on that case. Again, if you're working on a case, on a specific case, you should get all those messages up here in your notification bell. And that's one of the biggest things for me, as I tell everybody, if you leave for the day and you come back the next morning and there's a red dot with a number in it, it tells you how many times you've been listed, named, something's happened on a case you're working on. Please pay attention to those notifications because it's telling you things are working or people are working on cases you're working on, and you need to look at those things.
So
Accounting setting. Go ahead.
Sorry, Eric. So we have one in here asking how to delete events all at once instead of one at a time.
When you say events, checklist items?
I would assume on the calendar. They didn't specify though.
So one of the things that I've done before is if you're putting those items in the calendar, and I'm just going to say Robert Phillips case. If you're going to, Robert Phillips has 15 items on the calendar, and we've settled his case today. You can go into Outlook, search for Phillips. It'll bring up all of your calendar entries that have that case name in it, and you can delete them all at one shot right then. That's the easiest way I've found to do it. Cool? Dawn, we still good? Keep me honest.
Yeah, that sounds accurate to me as well.
I'm drying out. All right, we good? We're going to keep scooting. Accounting settings are doing, again, pulling all of this information in the accounting area from your value tab. So please understand when you're associating or doing those items in the value tab of that case, it is also writing over to the accounting tab. When you're doing invoices and putting those things in, it is going to the accounting tab. All of those items are there, and I can generate invoices for this one case all at one time. So if I've done 3 or 4 or 5 at a time, and now it's time to actually settle, I can generate all those invoices at one time and make sure that everybody's getting what they need to get. The firm's getting its payback. Any other vendors need to be getting their payback, fees, costs, anything else that goes along or associated with it. Settings. Please understand this is where everything happens. And I say this is where, when you look at it, this is the actual heart of the system. This is where we set things up. This is where we can make adjustments or changes. This is where we can change that file date or suit filed to filed suit. This is where all of those things get done, is in your settings, your document types, all of those different things, case types, auxiliary checklist, staff profiles. Somebody comes in, Charles is like, I'm out. I turn him off as active, not a Neos user, and somebody new comes in, I can create that new account for them, make them an active and Neos user. Settings is where everything comes together in the system. This is usually for your administratives or your power users. They will have gone through administrative training to set the system up for your firm the way the firm is expected. Going through, doing your different dynamic layouts, user mini directories, companion groups, mailing lists, provider association, templates. All of your templates are here. Again, staff profiles, staff groups, permission groups, where we can assign different users, different permissions throughout the entire system. Integration, how we can look at all the items that integrate with Neos. All of these fine third parties that we interact with and work with on a day-to-day basis. Being able to put into DocuSign our account, and then it just works in DocuSign. So when we go to do a document in a case, we can easily just send it to DocuSign. Very cool. All right, the next segment we're going to cover is intakes. So when we go into browse intakes, there's a couple of ways we can create new intakes. I can go to browse intakes, create a new intake here. Or if I'm just out, I can hit create and create an intake here. I'm going to get the same concept. Again, if you notice the red star that's here, that is telling you that those are required fields. So I'll hit the drop down for the case type. What type of case is it? And again, if you're doing prerequisite or there's certain fields that need to get filled out before you say, we're going to accept or take this case, there's a threshold that needs to be made. You can set that in your intake and say, I'm just using this civil litigation department. Notice the tier area of law that came up. Now I can say, you know what? Eric's going to take this case. And then I can say, what type of case is it? Well, we're dealing with civil rights cases, Section 1983. What type of civil rights case was it? It was a search and seizure. What type of search and seizure was it? Over detention. And again, you can have those break down as much as you want. Just note that there is a little legwork that's got to be done up front. It's just not hocus pocus, 5 minutes later, we're all done and there's 35 different questions that get asked. Again, we've satisfied one of our red stars, so now we got to satisfy that second red star. And the reason why that one's a red star there is because I can type in Mahomes and tab out, and it brings up every Mahomes that's in Neos. I can find the one that I want, use this record, and it's going to pull all of that information out for me. Once I save that item, now it puts me right back into that item. And I get checklists based on that case type. Documents based on that case type. So if there's something we need to send out a HIPAA authorization, a retainer agreement, whatever we want to do, we can create documents here just like we would if this becomes a case. Checklist, notes, text messages. Again, all of the things we see once this intake becomes a case are here. And again, and we make it a case, it transfers all of the information. So you're not typing that information 2, 3, 4 times to get it in. If you're looking at your grand list of intakes and you're like, I don't know about this. You can archive that intake. Cool. Any questions at all, Dawn? Lauren?
We have someone asking if you can show provider associations.
Sure. So this provider association is associated to Assembly Legal. There are acupuncture. Let me get a true provider. I'll say this one. So we know that they're associated to Progressive Insurance. They are Progressive. Give me a second. Cliff's Record. And again, we can add more groups to them. So again, what happens is when you add those associations, they will get encompassed into that group that they're associated with. So you don't have to worry if you've got 3 or 4 experts that you deal with that are acupuncturists. You can group them in your acupuncture group. So when you go to look for acupuncture as the group or the association, you're going to see all of them. So rather than you having to try to weed through the weeds to try to find these 3 people or these 7 people or these 15 people, you can associate them or group them together in that group. Good, bad, help, Dawn? Good?
Have not gotten a response back from it.
Okay. I'm going to keep on scooting, and then we can go from there if we need to, or go back and revisit. If you notice, every time I've opened Cliff Records, Progressive, that search has changed because I've opened different things now. Go into the case tab is going to show you all of the different case information. Again, when we do the party, that's all of our party's demographic information. Everything that would pertain to that record. And again, if you notice, I have 3 records. I can scroll between all of those records. If you're utilizing the texting, and I think Lauren's going to cover texting here in a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm not going to steal your thunder, Lauren.
It's all good. Thank you.
Yep. So then we go to case, and that's when we start finding out the date events, the synopsis, who, what, where, when, and why. Why are we looking at this case today? Is it a dormant case? And again, if I change that to dormant, because if you notice, this case is in litigation, we can look at those different case types. Then our case header that's up top just allows us to customize what we want to see at a moment's glance. And again, it doesn't matter if I go to any other tab. You notice that case header doesn't move. That's what we want. We want to see this every single time. If I'm one of the attorneys, I want to come in and I want to get the basic information. And again, it goes back to settings and case types. When you're looking at those things and setting those things up, and I'm going to choose MBA because that's what I'm working in. Right here, the header display. Literally, I want to click this over and move it over. That's all you got to do. Move this back over. It's up to what you want to see and how you want to see it. Again, the activity feed is just showing you who's working or what's been done on this case. Where it's at. Companion cases just allows me, again, just like we saw with the providers, allows me to group this case together. I had a firm a couple weeks ago that did, I don't want to say HOA litigation, but they did litigation against new subdivision contractors. And they called it, I'll say, Panther Creek. So what they did is they would go in and say, go to the Panther Creek neighborhood and say, go around to everybody and say, hey, did your driveway crack? Did your water heater quit? Do you have a split in your drywall or anything like that? Any home deficiencies? And then they would take that to the contractor, have them fix it or replace it or whatever it may be, and then go back. And it allowed them to group all of those cases quickly and efficiently. So we've seen that we can group providers together, and then we can also group cases together. Checklist. Again, we saw this earlier. You can check and mark it done just by coming in and doing it. So when that checklist, when that case is created, that checklist automatically gets applied. We can go through and see all of the different items that need to be accomplished or taken care of. Anytime you see the plus sign in this doc, that tells you that there's a template associated with that line. I can click on it and it automatically brings me to the document generation tab and says, hey, I've got this template ready to go. What are we going to fill out? I never left the checklist. I'm still working in it, and it's creating that document for me. In fact, it is completed and done. And if I go to case docs, should be my first document that we just did. Again, the checklist is the backbone of all of this that comes together. This is what pulls everything together. This is where it's telling everybody that, hey, these 20 things, 40 things, 60 things need to get done in this time range. But what happens if we do the 20, 40, 60 things in that time range and we want to keep moving? Then you can always add an auxiliary checklist and add those items. Create your to-do checklist, hit save, and then it just adds those items out there for you. Same with when we look at litigation, save that item and it adds those litigation dates to that case.
So I have a question for you here, Eric. So if you have multiple clients in a case, can you choose which name appears in the header?
Of course you can. So in the case, to the far right, the case name, you can name it whatever you want. So again, I've got firms that say, you know what? I don't like Devon Hill. I want it to be 200362 because that's how we associate it. I can change this to 200362. And it's going to change that name. So you can put whatever you want in there so your firm can better understand what that case and better find that case for them. That answer that for you?
I believe so.
I'm going to try to put the gas down a little bit. I just looked down and noticed the time. I know we started a minute or two late, but I still have a lot of stuff to cover. And we've talked about the case calendar. We've talked about the checklist. Please, if you have questions on those, because again, it's the same as we looked at in the global end. It's just more specific to this case now. Notes. How we can look at all general notes that have been made on this case, any emails that have been associated, any phone calls we've taken, any text messages we've taken. Lauren, I'm not going to do it, but you can go through and add those notes as needed. If you go and add a new note, I can say, at Dawn. Dawn, are you logged in here?
Should be.
Okay. Please call Devon when you see if he's still reading. Then I can say that as a client. If you notice, it just refreshed because it just put it right there. And what happens is you get a notification, and I'm sorry, I'll switch back to the sales environment. So you're probably not in the sales environment.
I can be.
You can be. That would be fabulous. So she's going to get a notification when she logs in the bell that I had sent her a message. Here's one that I got yesterday in the Chase Utley case. Sean added me, and then I added @messaged Sean. If you get @messaged and you're actually logged into the system, you're going to get a banner that pops up here in the top right. And it's going to say, hey, you've been mentioned, something has happened, and you're there. Let's say I want to send this note to someone. I can click on the ellipses, go to email. Who am I sending it to? And again, it's only bringing those contacts from that case right then. But you say, hey, I've got one expert, and I'm not going to add them to this case one time that I'm ever going to talk to him. I'm not adding him to my database. Cool. If you start typing in, notice it says add custom value. You can add that custom value. Again, that is for that entry, that time. So if you send this to 3 or 4, that expert witness 3 or 4 times, you're going to have to do that 3 or 4 times. So it's just easier to add them as a contact, unless it truly is a one-off. And again, you can CC and BCC, and it's going to show you the subject of the client name. From there, I can come down and attach documents if I want to. And again, it's pulling the documents from this case. And then I can send that item on. In fact, I just got it. Ka-ding. There's the email. Cool. Lauren, do you want to cover texting?
I sure do.
Well, let me stop.
All right. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so I'm going to cover texting, and there are 3 ways that we can start a text message. But before we do, let's go over to our staff profile. And again, as Dawn mentioned, if you don't have this nifty one-clicker, reach out to your Neos admin and just make sure that you can access this. It provides access right over to your staff profile. So you just want to go under account, user account details, and just make sure that your Office 365 is connected. So that should be in the green and needs to be connected in order to send text messages. So we are good there. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. Okay, so the first way that you can send a text message, you can be anywhere inside Neos. I just happen to be in this case, but I can be anywhere inside Neos and click this create button. And I scroll down to text message. And the beauty of this, because I'm anywhere inside Neos, I can search for any contact inside of Neos. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that whatever contact you're looking for, they need to be associated as a party on a case. So if you're looking for like a provider, for example, that has no dealings with the case as a party, nothing will be listed in this find a case field. So just keep that in mind. So I am just going to search for, there we go. Yeah, I want to search for that. Let's see. I'm going to search for Grino Patty, and it's going to bring me up my select contact. That's who I want. I'll select them. They're populated here. Their phone number is listed here. It's their only phone number, so it's going to be listed automatically. If there were additional, I could choose another one. And then I could post to one of their cases. So I can select whichever case I'd like here. And for this purpose, since this is our first round of how many ways can we send a text message, I'm going to close this and then take you through the rest of the ways. So, and this is also not a real phone number, so I'm not going to send this to Patty. So I'm going to close this and I'm going to show you the second way you can send a text message. So let's say I'm using a search and I'm looking for Kenzie. I happen to be on her case already, but let's say I'm looking for her as a contact. I select her and I can see this phone number. So the phone number has this like illuminated blue look to it. And anytime there's a phone number that has that illuminated blue, then you can interact with it. So if I click this caret right here, I'll see I have a few options. So when I choose send a text message, Basically the same window comes up. It's basically just that now, since I'm choosing a phone number associated with Kenzie, her name is by default in here, so I wouldn't be able to change that. Now, Kenzie has multiple phone numbers, so I can go ahead and choose another number, but because I chose this one because this one was listed here, that's why it's listed showing here by default. So if you're wondering like, oh, I know that this person has multiple phone numbers, why can't I choose it from this list? And by default, it'll show, at least from the search, the first phone number that is marked as call. So that's why that phone number is listed. But if that's not the one I want to send to, I can just go here and find the associated phone number. And then I'll want to select a case. Now, Kenzie is a member of many cases, so it really might be challenging to go through and, just by the search, just know which case I want to associate that with. So if you know, that's great. And if you're like, wow, I'm not sure, I'm going to have to go into the cases, I'm going to show you the final way that might help alleviate any of that confusion. So I'm going to cancel this. And let's go back. Let's close our search window. I happen to be in the case. I'm going to head over to the party tab. And when I scroll down to the phone numbers section here, I'll see all the phone numbers. So I know that I want to send a text message to this phone number, and I'll just click the text icon here. And again, this is the final way. So I've got Kenzie is listed by default. In the case. I've selected the exact phone number I want to use. That's why that phone number is listed there. Of course, I can still choose a different phone number if I want. And the case, I'm already on the case. So the case is already associated. And in the case of Kenzie, she's in multiple cases. And this will alleviate any confusion about which case to associate this with. So let's say I start typing something like that. Okay, that's fine. But there is another option down here. This is the quick fill mini directory. And what this does is if there are messages that you send routinely in text that you don't want to have to like retype every single time, then you can just choose one of these that you've set up in the quick fill mini directory. And let's say I want to choose request photos. Now this has added right after what I have just entered in. Please reply to this text with photos from your accident. And that's actually what we want. So I'm just going to delete that this way. I get this, and I didn't actually have to type that after all. So I'm going to go ahead and send the text message. Now this is the way to send the text message, okay? So once the text message has been sent, I can go over to my notes tab and the text is listed here. So you'll notice here, it's listed as a text message. And when I'm viewing it from all notes, I can single click and I can see that note side pane with those details. But I can also, and when I double click it, you'll notice it's just kind of like a simple view, just a simple notes view. But if I go to the text message tab and open up that exact same text, I'll see it in the text conversation view. And this is where if your firm has Neos premium texting, those replies will get sent back into the case and you'll see them as little bubbles sort of like arising in here as the text continues. So I'm going to talk about Neos premium texting in just a minute, but another place that you're going to see the text message is in the communication center. So if I go here to the call icon and then click text message, I'll see that text right here. And the great thing about from this view is, if you need to view the conversation using that same text conversation tab I just showed, you can do it from here. You can delete it if you need to get rid of it, or you can assign it. Let's say you want to add additional staff into the conversation. You can do it from here. If you need to change the contact, if you need to associate it with a different case, maybe you picked the wrong one accidentally and you need to change that there, you can do that. It defaults to the topic of text message, but if you're using a different one, you can select that there too. Okay, so that is how to send the text message. Now, I mentioned just briefly about Neos Premium Texting. So with the standard texting with Neos, when that text message is sent, whoever replies, the recipient, when they reply to that text message, you're going to get it as an email. So I'm going to bring up, let's see, here we go. That's not the one, it's over here. There we go. And it's this window. So when I was sharing with you about sending the text message, the only difference that I couldn't show you in my current environment is when you're sending a standard text message, it's going to show this note at the bottom that the text replies are going to get sent back to your email. So you'd like to, I would think, associate those replies with the case so nothing falls through the cracks. And so when you receive those replies, then you'll want to post those replies back to Neos to that case using the Outlook add-in. So this is just another step that you would need to do with those standard text messaging, which is perfectly fine. But one thing to keep in mind is, and I'll just kind of share this information here as well and talk to it, is that AT&T is stopping their text to, I'm sorry, email to text message service. What that means is basically if you're sending to anyone who happens to use AT&T as their mobile carrier, they may not receive that text message, and that would, cause detrimental effects if they're not receiving text messages in time or they don't know that they didn't receive it. So this is something to keep in mind, that this is going to be coming. This is on the AT&T side, so we're just relaying the message to firms because you don't know if if your clients use AT&T. So just something to keep in mind. So what can we do to avoid this? Well, we do have Neos Premium Texting, like I mentioned, and the great thing about Neos Premium Texting is that those replies get sent automatically back into the case, and you do not need to do that manual process of using the Outlook add-in to tag the email replies. So in the setup for it, you would go to Firm Preferences, and the setup starts in the Communications tab. Now, you might be saying, I don't have the Communications tab turned on. It's not visible in my list here. And that is because it is hidden by default. So if your firm is interested in Neos Premium Texting, then you can work with your customer success manager to get that turned on and go through the setup process for it. So another really great thing about Neos Premium Texting is that you get a dedicated phone number, and it's great for receiving messages, but it's also really great for marketing. Let's say you wanted to put your texting phone number on like a billboard or just on your website and say, contact us anytime. And I don't know about you, but I'm much more apt to send a text than maybe pick up the phone. So to get the ball rolling, I think that's a great use of that feature. And then just some additional, if you're looking for additional information on Neos Premium Texting, we do have a Learning Hub video that talks about that a little bit more. I think we are over time, Eric, so I'm going to stop the share there and hand it back to you. And if
Yes,
there are any questions, let us know.
I was going to say we are over time. Do we want to keep going or?
I think, yeah, I mean, if there's anything else you'd like to cover or if we have any open questions, happy to take those.
Just the self-service portal would probably be big and informative. Uh,
Sure thing. Yeah.
and I
Uh,
know we missed document tab, and I hate that, but I also have a appointment coming due.
for sure. Yes. So let me share my screen once more and okay, so just as a reminder to access, if you need any help accessing information on anything we talked about today, you can just click the question mark icon here. Again, we have information located on what the tab you are currently on, but you can just click that support portal and you'll be able to access the full knowledge base here, access that learning hub where I showed you the information about the Neos Premium Texting and all other videos across Neos with information. If you'd like to book a training session, you can do that here. And if you just want to reach out to support with additional questions, you can do that with the Get Support button. Back to you, Eric.
All right. That's going to be our time for today. I just wanted to at least make everyone aware. Here's that. I've put up the banner. So again, if you need any contact or going through the Neos certification, the web link is there. Neos Academy, please, I encourage everyone to go to the Neos Academy page and see what the next coming months are going to be. And you can also see any previous Neos Academies that we've given. And it also lists the premium texting that Lauren just spoke about. Dawn, I'm glad to see you came back on camera.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. Let us know if you have any additional questions, and we'll see you next month.
All right, with that being said, I appreciate everyone's attendance. Please go to the Neos Academy page, sign up for next month's Academy, and I look forward to seeing everyone. Be well, everyone. Have a great rest of the week.
Have a great day.
Bye, guys.